a lot of drugs and just the streets in general. And it was a big distraction for me, and it dawned on me, like, if I don't leave, something bad probably is going to happen to me.
Hey everybody, hope you're having a great day. Welcome to another episode of our Other Side of the Story. We're here to inspire, here to encourage you, and even challenge you that what you have inside of you is for a purpose, a destiny, and to look at, hear and listen to stories that you're being encouraged by. They're successful, what we see is successful, but how did they get there? I'm so excited today to have our guest, KD, my man, who I have known for years, but to see his story now, to see him as an entrepreneur, see him as an ex-military guy, he'll tell you a story in a second, but to see him as a business owner of several different businesses, he's a father, a husband, just doing great things in this community. And I really believe you're going to be inspired. So Kevin, thank you for being with us.
Appreciate it, Bishop. How you doing today?
Doing great, doing great.
Awesome.
So to get into your story a little bit, seeing you now in this gym and seeing you now doing the things you're doing when it comes to media.
Yes, sir.
You work for the military. How did you get here, man? How did you get here when people see where you are now? There had to be another side to that. So kind of tell us where you're from, maybe get into things you've learned as growing up or what got you to this place.
Definitely, Bishop. Just real quick background on me. I'm from the Bay Area, born in Oakland, California, raised in Vallejo, right near San Francisco, Northern California, for those who don't know where the Bay Area is.
Yeah.
Home of the Golden State Warriors.
Yes.
The Niners, the Raiders used to be there, all the above, all these professional teams. Anyways, I was born and raised out there. Had a pretty good childhood growing up. Grew up with both of my parents in the house. Thankfully, blessedly, you know what I mean? But I feel like a lot of my other side of the story is that, I was just being raised in the Bay Area. It kind of exposed me to a lot of things on the outside of my household at an early age.
Right.
A lot were good, but a lot were bad also. But it taught me to have that grit and resilience that I feel I'm using today to put into my businesses, into anything I do.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So, it was, I'm thankful for everything I've went through, but I've went through a lot growing up.
Yeah. I think it's important when we see people where they are now, because I think some things are taught to us growing up that we learned, good, bad, or indifferent. So some of the things maybe that you picked up along the way in your childhood, early teens, that you feel like played a part in your mentality, maybe your resilience. So kind of share some of that kind of helped you feel like along the way.
I feel like growing up, one thing that comes to mind right away is that hustle mentality that I got growing up in the Bay Area. Everyone is being very competitive when it comes to just being in the inner city, and in the Bay is surrounded by multiple cities. So like you just learn how to get it pretty much. And with that being said, like I think that's where I got my entrepreneur spirit from. Just from an early age, I was always thinking of ways to, I grew up in a middle class household, but my parents were very if you don't, it's wants and needs type of thing. So there are a lot of things that I wanted, but at the time, I thank God for it that my mom and dad didn't give me everything I wanted, but I still wanted it. Yeah. So I found creative ways to make money.
Right.
Whether it was pulling weeds in someone's yard, cutting the grass. What else did I used to do? Sell candy. I used to go to Costco, buy packs of Airheads, and just divvy it up, and then sell them at school. Yeah. And just whatever I could do to make money. I think that was what developed my entrepreneurial spirit, just to get my own. Right. Pretty much.
No doubt.
I mean? So it was just little things like that.
Yeah. And that's important too. I think also people listening is that some of the things we've experienced in our childhood, growing up, does play a part in how we're thinking and how we're operating and what we learned into our present. So what happened to you when you got to the place of high school in Oakland, California? What happened next in your life?
Right. So my high school, I graduated on time, but it was I had a pretty rough high school to where I was a very smart kid. I could get the grades, but I didn't. I felt like I just didn't put the effort in. I was like a C and D student, failed a couple classes, barely graduated on time, and walked the line my senior year. Had to go to, all the 0 period, 7th period adult school just to graduate on time. So needless to say, when I barely graduated, it dawned on me that I had to do something else with my life because of all the distractions that I had growing up. Was around a lot of gang activity, a lot of drugs, and just the streets in general. And it was a big distraction for me, and it dawned on me, like, if I don't leave, something bad probably is going to happen to me, and kind of do what I need to do for me. So I ended up doing it. I never thought I would join the military. I ended up trying to join the Marines. At the time, I was 17 when I graduated, and my mom, at the time, she was like, "I'm not gonna sign you up for the Marines." Whatever notions she had about that branch, she said, "You could join the Air Force instead, and I'll sign you right away." So we ended up talking to an Air Force recruiter. I got signed up. I graduated in June, signed up in June, and I was out to basic training by September, 2 months later.
Oh, quick turnaround.
Oh, yes, sir. I was ready to go.
Yeah.
For the most part.
So I was in the Air Force, so shout out to the Air Force.
For sure.
But going into the military, your thinking was kind of more get out of your environment.
Right.
So really it was important if you got out in the environment you were in, put you in a military environment. What do you feel like you learned in the military that's got you to where you are now?
I think the military gave me structure. Growing up, I had structure. I didn't know it was structure yet. I had structure in my household from my mom and my dad, but I feel like there was a lot of things that I needed to learn on my own, but I didn't know how to actually do these things yet and be independent as a young man.
Right.
So I feel like the military definitely gave me an organized way to go about doing things. A work ethic, I feel, was already there. I played a lot of sports growing up, and I feel like I got my grit from sports, playing team sports also. But that definitely, I feel like anyone who joins the military, you're definitely going to get that structure and that order that you need to conduct and apply anywhere in your life.
It's so important because I felt like this. Went to Israel a couple months ago.
Yes, sir.
And if you live in Israel, whatever I say make, but it's a requirement of all the Israel people to go into the military for 2 years.
For sure.
I think that would be a great concept in America.
Yes.
Because military, you said, taught you structure, got you into a right track, right path.
For sure. Give you order.
Those are important things in life.
Yes.
So how long have you been in the military? You served in the military?
So I joined right out of high school. I did 11 years active duty and 2 years in the reserves. I ended up getting out in 2011, and I was a tech sergeant at the time, and ended up getting out and just pursuing other things. Life happens.
Yeah.
They were trying to get me stationed to go somewhere else. I had my oldest son by then, and I wanted to stay close to him, so I ended up staying here in Warner Robins. Fell in love with the town. And I just felt like this is where I needed to be. I didn't know why at the time, of course, for my son.
Right.
But just, I could have moved other places and still been there for my son. But I felt like Warner Robins was where I needed to be at, so I ended up staying here.
Yeah, so you're learning things, again, along your journey, man, from being raised in Oakland, California, exposed you to different diversity and environments.
Yes, sir.
So what was it you felt like once you got out of the military that you started beginning to pursue entrepreneurship? Where'd you go? What happened?
So even while I was in the military, I was an entrepreneur. I felt like, because the definition of entrepreneur, basically put your money up and take all the risks and try to make more money, right? But as an entrepreneur, you're putting up your own money. So with that being said, I've had so many business ventures that have failed along this time. During the military, I've done everything from sold rims, right? Rims and tires. We could talk about it here in a few, I'm sure, about my DJ career since 8th grade. I've been DJing and doing parties and events, just graphic design, just anything and everything I could think of that I feel was a service to others. but I could still make money from it, I turned it into a business one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them, you just, you figure it's not worth it, or
Right.
it just ends up failing in general.
Yeah.
And you just kind of move forward. But I mean, needless to say, it's hit or miss with a lot of the businesses. And thankfully, over the years after I got out of the military, my DJ career ended up taking off because I was doing it full time right after I got out.
I think you said something important. I'll take you back for a second.
Yes, sir.
About failure.
Right.
I think a lot of people, no doubt, listening to this, watching this, are hesitant of taking a risk because they want to fail.
Right.
So what did you learn, you feel like, that continue to help you grow in things not working out? We don't want to say failure, but you tried it. What do you felt like you were learning from that?
Really, at the time, you don't know this is what you're learning, but in hindsight, I feel like I learned to fail fast.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because often you don't know that the failure is going to bring you to those wins, right? Mm-hmm. But so at the time, just being able to have the courage to not be scared to try.
Okay, that's good.
And because a lot of time I talk to a lot of people now, now that they know that, heavy into being an entrepreneur, they're like, KD, I want to do this. KD, I want to do that. I'm like, well, have you tried it yet?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, I'm still doing my research. But we all know, you can research all day, but if you don't execute and at least try to put your plan 1 foot at a time forward, you don't know if it's going to work or not. Even if you have a perfect plan, you don't know if it's literally going to work, where you're at this point in your life, all those things. And that's really what I feel is like the biggest thing with failing, is that until you fail, you're not putting any action into it.
I love that.
You know what I mean?
I love that. Because that really does, I know that's encouraging somebody right now, because you said it, is that, taking that risk, waiting for the perfect moment never comes.
Right, and it won't.
Right. It's like me starting this podcast.
Yes, sir.
I could research,
right.
but eventually just get it going. So I love that advice. You learn that you got to take a risk. You learn that you got to take a step.
Right.
Just keep taking the step. So tell us about the music. The music can be ruthless at times, but you're a DJ.
Yes,
again, those things are making your story, right? They're making your story where you are now. What happened in the music career DJ business?
Right. So I grew up around a musical family. My whole family sings, plays instruments. My mom tried to put me along that route.
Yeah.
Everything from violin, piano. I even, I was in the youth choir growing up at church. And none of those things kind of appealed to me. I felt like I was being forced to do it. Mm-hmm. And so I ended up, veering off into a different direction. I grew up around my older cousins in the 80s used to DJ in the garage, and, were with the vinyl records and the turntables. And I just ended up looking up to them. So when I grew up and got older, I always said, I want to be just like them, because I thought it was just cool to do. And in 8th grade, started DJing pep rallies with one of my friends that had enough money to get his own turntables. And we ended up having a DJ group throughout high school, did all the parties, did all the events for the school. And I ended up carrying that on after I left into the military. Fast forward, once I got to Georgia, from the time I got stationed here on, I just started building my DJ career while I was active duty. Met a lot of people throughout the years, doing just everything from, from club events to being on stage with artists. I've been on tour with with a rap artist, with my friend who's an R&B artist. Been to a lot of cities because of DJing. And finally, when I got out, fast forward even more, I ended up getting my own radio show on Power 107 in Macon. Yeah. And I did that for 3 years full time. So that was an adventure in itself.
Well, I think your story is like paving a path to entrepreneurship.
For sure.
You're not afraid to take a risk.
Right.
Those are important things I think we're bringing out. You was willing to try it.
Right.
Then you developed into the thing of more of a mindset that goes, anything's possible.
Definitely. And it was one of those mindsets where, as an entrepreneur and as you're doing it full time, you have the fear of failing, right? Because it's going to work or it's going to work, right? So, and I always told myself, you know, it's one of those things where the hard part about entrepreneurship is that if you don't, there's no days off, because you don't have a 401k per se like you would if you're working for a company. You don't have leave or sick days. It's basically if you don't work, you don't eat.
Mm-hmm.
So it was tough at times, because, you know, those days where I wanted to go on vacation with some family or with some friends, a lot of time I would have to say, hey, I have to work, you know, because there is no other paychecks besides the ones I bring in from myself. And that's what it taught me a lot, was to stay the course.
Stay the course.
Stay the course.
Love that.
And just to, you know, you have to be very resourceful. You know, you're not working with an unlimited budget. You're the boss, you're the accountant, you're the graphic designer. I learned how to be my own photographer. I learned how to do everything myself, how to make my own shirts, you know, how to promote myself. Just all these things you have to learn. Unless you just got an unlimited amount of money, you learn how to save by doing it yourself, pretty much. So,
well, those are powerful things you're saying, man. It really is. I don't want to just run by that before we move on to the other side of your story. Is the concept you had was developing a diversity of businesses. It was developing a mindset that you were going to try it.
Right.
I love that. But then you get into the music business. You're successful. What caused you? We're sitting in this gym right now, but it wasn't always this gym. So from that point, what caused you to get into wanting to run a gym, if I can say it that way? Where did that start at?
So I've always had a love for sports.
Okay.
Growing up, I had played soccer, baseball, just you name it, you know what I mean? Wrestling, taekwondo, any type of combat sport or just regular recreational sport, I played since a little kid. And really how this came about, besides the love of boxing and combat sports, was when I was a kid, I used to draw all the time and use the telephone book. I'm telling my age now, just to research, you know, different businesses. And I would just look through the pages, and I would come up with these little drawings and plans of just creative places in my head. So I remember this vividly. I drew like a place for kids to come and hang out, where they had a full court basketball court, where they had video games, different rooms where they could do art, and, you know, just a place where kids could have fun and be safe.
So you drew this out.
I was probably in elementary school at the time, maybe third, fourth grade.
That's powerful.
And the reason I drew it also was because there wasn't one where I grew up at. So I just drew up this imaginary place, and I was like, this would be a fun place to hang out, you know, if I got older. I didn't think of it as a business at the time, of course, but I just wanted one where I could go to it myself. And so fast forward to have this gym, I was just training with my business partner now, but my trainer at the time, he was an avid boxing fan also. Shout out to my boy Sergio. He's my business partner for multiple businesses we have together. And we started training in my backyard. He was my neighbor's little cousin.
Started training in the backyard.
And we were training in the backyard and in our driveway, because we have a mutual driveway next to each other. And we always see each other in passing when I'm going to work or wherever I'm going. And we used to say hi to each other. And then he noticed that I was an avid boxing fan also, and loved boxing, and that I trained boxing. And we ended up linking up, training together. And I threw out the wild idea, hey, we should start a boxing gym. And of course, you know, those of you will, you know, eventually meet Sergio and see him. He was skeptical at the time. And I ended up convincing him, and just basically telling him, this is going to work, man. I don't know what it was, why I thought it was going to work, but I knew that we should take the risk and at least try.
Let's don't go fast again by that. Don't go fast. Because what you're saying again is so inspirational and so powerful, because again, it teaches people, and again, them watching today and listening, it's the purpose of this whole podcast is what you're saying, is that you were willing, drew something out on a piece of paper, 8 years old. You saw something that encourages us if you see something in yourselves to do, don't ever discount that.
Definitely.
Then you're at a place I can't even, again, this is just, I got to stop and say this because you had such vision in a front yard. Think about this, people. In a front yard, boxing, going, let's start a business.
For sure.
But I think that because everything you said so far has led up to you going, you know what, I'm willing to take a risk. Right. I'm willing to step out because I see something happening, to be fruitful and to be an impact. So right. You go from the front yard, where'd y'all go? What happened?
So this is the crazy part. Even before Sergio met me, he was training in his backyard, doing his own thing. So when we linked up, I know this is all in hindsight. It was in him also. Mm-hmm. Just the grind and just the passion for boxing was our mutual thing, right?
Yeah.
So we ended up starting the business like, okay, we're going to do this. And obviously we can't start a business. I mean, we could have, but obviously we're not going to start it in my driveway at my residence. So we ended up just linking up with one of our friends, Jared, who was training at our church.
Okay.
And upstairs at our church, at Hope Church, we had, I think it's about, if I had to estimate, about 800 square foot building up
800
there, right,
square
Bishop?
feet.
Well, we were out there working out, me, you, and Jordan, and everybody else. And that was our first area for our gym. And we didn't have a heavy bag at the time. All we had was our boxing mitts and about, 8 members, including yourself.
But
right?
You're just starting. See, it's what you taught us. You're just going to start. So go ahead.
And that was the thing. Like, we loved boxing so much and felt like we could teach people. The 8 people was a big win for us. And we just kept having class week after week, promoting, and then one person told another, word of mouth, use social media and leverage that as much as possible. Mm-hmm. And it ended up growing. I think after 60 days, we went from the small group we had to like 30 people. And that was way too many for the room
right.
we were in. We loved that gym. We loved that building. And it was just 30 people was way too much. So we ended up having to move. And we've moved 4 times from the church building all the way up to where we're at right now.
Again, let's stop and say you moved 4 times.
4 times. And it was a hard 4 times every time.
Yeah, because I think when you're relocating and you're starting a business and it's growing, trying people to go, where'd they go now? Where'd they go now? Because a lot of times when people see businesses move, you can speak on this, they feel like it's unstable. Did you run into that?
No, for sure. And even just moving from the church building to our first building on our own was scary because at the time the rent was about triple from what we were initially, helping out with at the church. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, the doubt was always in my mind and just being scared of what if we can't make the rent? What if people don't come? What if, we just go in debt and this was all a big mistake? But we just ended up taking a step with faith. Really prayed hard about it, but really prayed and put action behind it. And I'm a firm believer is if you want it to work, you're gonna find a way and you're gonna make it work.
You're really speaking volumes,
right.
Honestly, to even me right now. But the fear, we're all gonna have fear.
For sure, you're gonna be scared.
It's natural to have fear.
Yeah, natural.
But you didn't let that stop you.
No.
And I want to say this because I felt this a minute ago. I want to tell somebody right now, just start.
Just start.
Just start.
Yep. And when we say just start, Bishop, I know people are saying, okay, we'll just go out on this wild whim. No, I mean, do your research for sure.
Yeah.
But don't be so stuck on the research and wait for that perfect day. You got to put your foot forward. You don't even need money. We didn't have money. We literally used what we had and made it work. And then just grew. We reinvested in ourselves a million times. And I know I probably never even told you this, and probably a lot of people that are going to watch this would be surprised. We didn't pay ourselves $1 probably for the first 5 years of this business. If we've only been in business 6 years, like when I say that too, like I've made money doing, personal training and things of that nature, but the actual revenue that runs this business, we kept reinvesting in ourselves and saving our money. We never took out a loan. We just kept putting in our own money and just had faith that it's going to pay off one day. And it's tough at times. Even, my family, people are like, you're crazy. You know, like you're doing, you know, what when you're doing this, it gets stressful. You know what I mean? The whole family feels it. But at the end of the day, they all believe in me. But at the same time, this ain't no unicorns and
Yeah.
rainbows fairy tale, right? Like real life happens throughout these years, and it's been a long road through the 4 moves, our staff, just finding buildings that will take us. Um, there's a lot of roadblocks, but you can't let that stop you. If you really want to be successful, you're gonna make it happen one way or another.
That's
So
good.
it's crazy.
Again, those things you're saying, I got to just elaborate for a second, is to reinvest in yourself.
Reinvest. You have to. You can't. You're not gonna. It's not a get rich quick scheme.
Right.
You're not going to be like, oh, I got this bright idea, and then all of a sudden you're gonna quit your job that has the provision, right?
Yeah.
You got to really just keep working it. Oh, by the way, the whole time I've had this gym, I was working on base, and I did like we've had this gym was created on my off time. So after I get off work, go to work, let's say 7 to 4 p.m., 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. I would get off work and come to the gym and do my entrepreneurial small business after work. I didn't quit my job because I didn't know if it was going to work, right?
You know, you're doing what the Bible says do for sure. You had faith,
For sure.
but you had to put works with it.
You
That's
got
a
to.
lot of times people don't understand that.
You
It
got
takes
to.
work.
It takes
To
work.
see you now, that's why I'm glad you're saying that. To see you now, people think, well, I can do that. But you're telling us the other side of the story, whereas it takes work, risk,
Right.
faith, invest in
Diligence.
yourself, diligence, all those
Yes,
things,
sir.
man, it's so inspiring today.
Yes,
So
sir.
inspiring. So you went from 2 people, let's just say, in a driveway.
Right.
How many people are you all really impacting right now? Is coming, training, boxing? Tell us about that.
So from 2 people to 2, we have about 200 members, but
That's
that's
amazing.
just the members that are actually coming here. We are, my heart and my, you know, all our staff, our heart is with the youth. We work with so many youth in the community. We've partnered with the basketball program, with shout out to Jet Training Academy. Just anyone who has a heart for the youth, I feel like that's part of like a majority of our calling, is to really touch the lives of these youth. Because I once was, you know, we all were teenagers and kids before, and I feel like the more we pour into them and the next generation, the better of a world we'll have, right? And I just got a heart for kids and for the community, and I just feel like that's where I need to be. That's what my calling is just to work with them.
That is so, again, so powerful, because when it comes to the youth and generation of now,
For sure.
they need it.
They need it.
that outreach and impact that y'all are doing in this community, which is a powerful thing.
Yes, sir.
And I think that's part of what I see in you is your passion for that. So you get in the gym, you go from 2 to 200, let's just say.
Right.
You're training, you're starting boxing leagues, all that. But all of a sudden, something in you goes, let's start a barbershop. Tell us why you did that.
It just, we've, like all of our staff, we love, I mean, this, I'll just talk for me personally. I've always just admired the art of barbering,
Okay.
right? And if you talk to any real barber, they'll tell you it's an art. You know what I mean? And if I didn't have so many entrepreneur ventures already, I feel if I could do it all over again, I would entertain being a barber, right? My wife would kill me if I became a barber at this day and age. But I just felt like working with the youth. We had the extra space. Me and Sergio were like, what are we gonna do with this empty space? Had our partner Reyes come in with us to help manage it, and we made it happen again. We made it happen again. This is the crazy part. So we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary for our barbershop. For about, I would say, 8 months, all of 2022, and I can say this now,
Yeah.
I felt like our barbershop was gonna fail,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the crazy part was, we pursued this barbershop and tried to entertain this idea, even in year 3 of the boxing gym, but it just was, you know, finances, all these things came about, and it wasn't the right timing. 2022 happened, fast forward, and we came up on a guy who was selling his whole barbershop because he chose a different business venture after COVID. So we got the barbershop for a sweet deal, ended up being prepared financially for that. turned the extra room we have here at the gym into a barbershop. My wife interior designed the whole place. Shout out to my wife.
Yeah.
The barbershop is awesome because of, a lot of the cosmetic things that she built in there. And it just, like I said, for the first 6 to 8 months, even Sergio will tell you, like, we thought it was going to fail. We're like, well, maybe it was a mistake to make this barbershop because it's not really doing any numbers. I don't know what happened, Bishop. God is so good, because all of a sudden, when you get the right people at the right time and the right team,
That's good.
all of a sudden the skepticals, the people who are doubting, including myself, it turned around just like from night to day.
Yeah.
And now you can't stop people from coming into our barbershop. And it was just one of those things. I had a hunch. My partner had a hunch. My partners had a hunch. And we all came together. You got to have the right team. And then you could do anything with the right team of people. You can't do it by yourself, for sure.
Right.
And that's, I feel like, is one thing we could learn from the barbershop and from the gym. It definitely takes a real good team of like-minded people. And you surround yourself around those like-minded people, you guys could overcome anything.
Yeah.
And make anything happen. You know what I mean?
You have taught us so many things in this story. Again, looking at people's lives, looking what you have accomplished with the team and people around you today. And people can look at that and go, this is why the reason I started this podcast, is looking at that and go, well, yeah, man, barbershop's prospering. Yeah, the gym's prospering, but they don't know the other side of the story of overcoming everything you just said.
Definitely.
Just start, give it a try. Don't let the fear of failure stop you.
For sure.
Reinvest in yourself. So many great principles and points you're talking about. And one of the things I got from what you just said about the barbershops will encourage people is that, be aware of what you're around and who you're around.
For sure.
Is that going to make sense?
No, definitely. Definitely. Like, everyone, I think, operates at some point in time in a mind state of lack, right?
Yes.
Like, we always say what we don't have. But if you just transform your mind state and always just be resourceful and think of all the things that God's already given you and is around you, the answers to your prayers might be all around you, but you take it for granted because you're used to your best friend.
Yes.
You're used to your neighbor. You're used to these people at your job who might be your future business partners, but you just don't see them in that light. You know what I mean? So that's the biggest thing, that everything you need, I feel like, is already there. And sometimes we want to see the end result so fast that we think we need a huge business loan. We think we need all the glitz and glamour, all the shirts and hats, and you want everything to be perfect for you to open the business. But on the other end of the side of the story, God might say he wants you to start from humble beginnings and get it out the mud.
Yeah.
And then grow into, whatever it is you may have in store for you. And that way, I feel like, too, I've been a victim of this. Like, if you don't start from the mud and from the ground, like the bottom floor, you're not gonna appreciate it as much.
That's good.
And I'm speaking from experience when I say that. There's a lot of things in life that were handed to me, but I lost it and had to regain it and have respect for it because, I got it too easy.
Yeah.
But now that, I had to really literally grow this place from a seed, you take care of it, right?
From a seed.
You take care of it.
From a seed.
Yes, sir.
You have inspired me, honestly, motivated me, and challenged me. And again, I'm going to say that statement. Somebody needs to hear it. A seed is powerful.
Right.
But it's not powerful just being held in your hand. You got to plant it.
You got to plant it.
So I'm telling somebody today, plant the ideas. You're learning from Katie today. Has done great things. And so many principles you have taught us. Thank you so much. So before we go, what are some things you feel like you want to say to somebody that's either fixing to start a business, purchase a business, in whatever way, capacity? It might not be that. It might be just something with their health. Give us a couple of pointers that would help go, you know what, that's good besides what you've said. Anything come to your mind that you want to leave everybody with? 2 things they could do, 3 things they could do, or whatever comes to you.
So just a couple things. First, just you have to have strong faith. Like really, like I don't know like what I could have done by myself, but all glory really goes to God, because I know without all those hard and dark times that we've went through in all these businesses, it's really, you have to stay prayed up and have faith that God has your back and that he's going to give you what you need as you go through your journey. Mm-hmm. Right? So it's really that, and just that combined with you can't be scared, and you can't give up. You just have to keep going. And if you haven't even started going yet, you have to put your foot forward and go.
Yeah.
Even if you're just crawling, you don't have to sprint, you don't have to run. It's a marathon, right? You have to literally just start.
That's good.
And keep going. A lot of people start too, and then they don't walk every day. They might start and then all of a sudden they forget about it. A business can't go like that. Mm-hmm. You have to every day, even when you don't feel like it, you got to put your foot forward and keep walking, keep walking. All of a sudden you'll be jogging. All of a sudden you'll be running. Mm-hmm. Then you're going to be sprinting, and all of a sudden you're going to look back and be like, wow, we've came a long way. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah, just stay prayed up and just know that God got your back, and just keep moving forward. And I feel like that's the key to the success. Just keep going.
I like it.
It sounds basic, but the keep going part is it's just very important to me. And that's anybody watching right now, I feel like that's what I could tell them. Just keep going. Don't be scared to fail.
That's good. We appreciate it. Thank you for everything. Thank you for what you're doing in the community. We applaud you for that. And we tell you to keep going.
Oh, yes.
Keep making impact. So thank you for being with us. I know you like that. So hit that like button, subscribe. You got to share this with somebody. I know you've been encouraged today. The other side of the story of Kingdom Boxing, man, KD today, all right? Hey, join us next week for another episode of The Other Side of the Story.